This strange creature is called a tripod fish, and yes, it's a real animal. At first glance, it almost looks like something from a video game. If you've ever played Skyrim, you might recognize something similar. It's almost as if evolution asked this fish a simple question. Do you want fins, or do you want legs? And the fish answered both. The result is a creature with extremely long fins that function almost like legs. But there's a catch. The tripod fish isn't particularly good at walking, and it's not a strong swimmer either. To understand why this fish ended up like this, we need to start from the beginning of its life. Like many marine creatures, the tripod fish begins as a tiny floating egg drifting in the ocean currents. Unfortunately, floating eggs are basically free food for anything larger than them. Fish, crustaceans, and other marine animals quickly devour these eggs. In fact, more than 80% of them never survive long enough to hatch. But even hatching doesn't guarantee survival. Once the larvae emerge, they become part of the plankton, tiny organisms drifting helplessly through the ocean. At this stage, they can barely control where they go. This makes them extremely vulnerable. The surface waters are full of parasites. Many of these parasites immediately attach themselves to the young larvae and begin feeding on them. The larvae haven't even eaten their first real meal yet, and already something is draining their energy. If they manage to find enough microscopic food, they survive. If not, they starve. And of course, predators are everywhere. Most larvae die long before they grow into young fish. Only a tiny fraction make it past this stage. Eventually, the surviving larvae develop stronger bodies and grow proper fins. At this point, they enter the juvenile stage. But even here, the odds are terrible. In the brutal world of the ocean, less than 1% of larvae ever reach this stage. As the young fish grows, its body adapts to the extreme pressure of deeper water. But something unusual begins to happen. Its eyes slowly begin to shrink. At first, the fish can still see, but the deeper it goes, the darker the environment becomes. Eventually, vision becomes almost useless. Instinct drives the fish to descend even further into the deep ocean. As it grows older, the long fins begin to stretch and transform into stiff structures that resemble legs. The fish eventually reaches depths where sunlight never reaches. Its eyes shrink further and eventually become almost useless. Swimming constantly in the deep sea requires energy, and food down there is extremely limited. So instead of actively searching for food, the tripod fish adopts a very different strategy. It simply stands still. Using its long fin rays like a tripod, it anchors itself to the seafloor and waits. Currents bring small animals drifting past, and when something edible gets close enough, the fish quickly grabs it. Most of the time, it just waits in darkness. Because it barely moves, parasites often begin living on its skin and gills. Some parasites damage its respiratory system. Others interfere with digestion. Sometimes they even damage reproductive organs. But even reproduction itself is difficult in the deep sea. Finding another tripod fish in that enormous dark environment is extremely unlikely. To deal with this, tripod fish are hermaphrodites. That means a single individual can produce both eggs and sperm. In situations where a mate cannot be found, the fish may release both reproductive cells into the water, allowing fertilization to occur. Once fertilized, the eggs slowly drift upward toward the ocean surface, and the entire difficult cycle begins again. This animal is a donkey. Most people know donkeys as hardworking animals that help carry loads, pull carts, and assist farmers. But what many people don't realize is that donkeys are actually stronger than horses relative to their size. For thousands of years, donkeys have played a huge role in human civilization. They help build cities, transport goods, and plow fields. Humans have relied on them for around 7,000 years. And yet, despite everything they've done for us, people often use the word donkey as an insult. When a donkey foal is born, the first challenge is simply standing up. With the help of its mother, the young animal usually manages to stand within an hour. But unlike human babies, there are no celebrations. For many owners, the newborn is simply another future worker. The foal spends its early days close to its mother, learning her voice and smell while drinking milk. For a short time, life is peaceful, but this stage doesn't last long. In many places, the mother must return to work very quickly, sometimes within days of giving birth. Since the foal still depends on milk, it has to follow its mother everywhere she goes. This can mean walking long distances over rough terrain. A donkey normally reaches full working strength at around 5 years old. However, in many places where donkeys are the primary source of income, they start working much earlier. At about 1 year old, young donkeys are already given small loads to carry. These loads gradually increase as the animal grows. By the age of 3, many are already expected to carry heavy burdens. Their daily routine becomes repetitive and exhausting. They may walk 15 to 25 miles per day, carrying loads that approach their own body weight. This continues year after year. Eventually, constant strain begins to damage their bodies. Back problems develop. Hooves become painful. Muscles weaken. Although donkeys are capable of living more than 40 years, many working animals become physically exhausted after only 8 to 10 years. Once they're no longer able to carry heavy loads, their fate varies. Some lucky ones are used as herd guards or kept as companions, but many are sold for meat or leather. In some industries, donkey skin is used for traditional medicine products. As a result, the demand for donkey skin has increased dramatically. Female donkeys may continue being used for breeding, producing new foals that will eventually face the same difficult life. And so the cycle continues. This bird might look like a mix between a pigeon and a chicken. It's called a sand grouse, and it lives in some of the harshest environments on Earth, the desert. Desert life is extremely challenging. Temperatures can be scorching during the day and freezing at night. Water is scarce, and predators are always nearby. Sand grouse nests are incredibly simple. Instead of building elaborate structures, they simply scrape a shallow depression in the sand and lay their eggs there. But this creates another problem. Desert temperatures can reach over 50 degrees Celsius, which is hot enough to literally cook the eggs. To prevent this, one parent stays behind and shades the eggs with its wings while the other searches for food. In a way, the parents are not warming the eggs, they're cooling them. After about 3 weeks, the chicks hatch, and almost immediately, they face another challenge. The desert ground becomes extremely hot during the day, so the chicks begin walking only about an hour after hatching. Food like seeds can be found nearby, but water is a different story. Water sources attract predators such as hawks and eagles. To reduce the risk, sand grouse nests are often located 20 to 50 miles away from water. But chicks still need water. So every morning, the fathers fly long distances to reach water sources. Predators know this. Eagles and hawks often wait near the water, ready to attack arriving birds. Some fathers are killed during these dangerous trips. The survivors land near the water and drink quickly. Then they perform an incredible behavior. Male sand grouse have specialized belly feathers that can absorb water. They soak these feathers until they hold nearly 20% of the bird's body weight in water. Timing is critical. If they stay too long, predators attack. If they leave too soon, they won't carry enough water. Once their feathers are soaked, the fathers fly back to their nests. The chicks then drink water directly from their father's feathers. This process repeats every day for several weeks until the young birds are strong enough to fly. Eventually, the entire family travels together. After several months, the young birds leave to find their own mates. And when the rains arrive, the cycle begins again. Episode 4. Mayflies. This tiny insect is called a mayfly. The name might suggest that they only appear in May, but they can actually be found throughout the year. Their scientific name describes them better. The word ephemeral means something that lasts for a very short time, and mayflies live some of the shortest lives in the animal kingdom. There are more than 3,000 species of mayflies. One species, the American sand-burrowing mayfly, has one of the shortest adult lifespans of any animal. Their life begins as clusters of eggs containing dozens of tiny embryos. Many of these eggs are eaten by aquatic creatures such as snails and insect larvae. To survive, the eggs quickly sink into the water. Some settle safely in sand or between rocks. After 8 to 10 months, the eggs finally hatch. The larvae immediately burrow into the riverbed, digging tunnels in the sand. Here they spend most of their lives. The larvae breathe using gills and feed on tiny organoparticles drifting through the water. They remain hidden in their burrows for nearly an entire year, molting multiple times as they grow. Eventually, it's time for the final transformation. Just before sunrise, the larvae swim to the surface and shed their skins, developing wings. This stage is called the subimago. At this moment, the world becomes extremely dangerous. Fish, birds, bats, frogs, and dragonflies all hunt them. The insects fly quickly toward the riverbanks and molt one more time, becoming fully mature adults. Millions of males gather in swarms above the water, waiting for females to emerge. Predators continue attacking, but the insects cannot leave. They have almost no time. Once females appear, mating begins immediately. For some species, the adult female may live less than 5 minutes. During that short time, she must mate and lay eggs. After mating in the air, the male releases her. With her final energy, she drops toward the water and releases her eggs. Then she dies. The male may survive slightly longer, sometimes up to 30 minutes, attempting to mate with multiple females before his life ends. The eggs sink into the water, and once again, the entire cycle begins.